Welcome to another episode of the MSA Crusaders. Today, David and I are going to talk about different tests that you take.
Yes, so make sure you have a bottle of water nearby. This should be interesting.
Funny.
I thought that was funny. If only our listeners could see us on video. Which, by the way, they will start starting next episode for our Thanksgiving special. We will be live to us, but on video, so you can see us and judge us and ridicule us. Good things like that.
And after Thanksgiving, we will have our podcast on video.
Yes, we want you to see us. Well, I mean, obviously Daisy looks much better than me, but we will.
Oh no.
Yeah, a little bit of sympathy for me. Just a little bit. I'll have to do my hair and get dressed for a change.
And our guests, be nice to see.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very true. We had so many guests, like we said, to care before and after and stuff like that. So can't wait. So you said we're going to talk about tests. What tests are we talking about?
Well, David, I had a SIN1 test back in, I think it was July.
Yes.
And then on August 6th, I went to my neurologist, and she gave me my results. And she came in the office and she said, "You do not have an MSA."
It was a negative test for a sign. How do you say? Yeah, I'm going to say this slowly. It's called a sign 1 test, but it is a synucleinopathy test. And the sign 1 test is proprietary to one pharmaceutical company that does it. There are actually many sign 1 like tests, but when you say the word sign 1, that's specific to a company. So, yeah, I've had a lot of people that I've come across in my journey to MSA that have all had negative, and very few have had positive tests for that.
Yes, I know a patient that has had one that came back negative too. And I had to say, even though it was saying I did not have MSA, I was back to square one, and I felt happiness and sadness too.
Well, but I told you before, though. I said do not count. I said do not count on that test being positive because it's so hit and miss.
You're right, as always.
Yeah. So the sign 1 tests, or these biopsies, basically of skins, is they usually take a small skin sample from could be the leg, the thigh, upper back. But
yeah, mine was neck, knee, and ankle.
There you go. Right. So each pharmaceutical company
on the left side of my body.
Each medical company does testing at different spots of the body, which means, and if you understand MSA and the protein, this synuclein protein, we all develop these deposits or these spots in different parts of our body differently from person to person. So if I had the same test as you and we both have MSA and we tested in the same spots, I, for instance, might have different deposits of synuclein protein than you would. So one would be positive, one would be negative. It's really a hit and miss test.
And also, you could test this week and test next week. And this week it would be negative, next week it would be positive. But I was a little down. I didn't say anything about it because I wanted to see what my DAT scan said first.
Yeah, but you had your DAT scan and you got the results for that too.
I did, and those came back abnormal.
Yeah, I was surprised at how you said when I sent you mine. Basically, you seen it before, but I sent you a copy of mine. I was very surprised how undetailed your test results were.
That's too after I was like, "What? This is real thorough."
It didn't say. I mean, it said positive, right? So you have a Parkinson's type disease, right? PSP, MSA, Parkinson's plus, whatever, but. It gave no details as far as like what was working and what wasn't working. I was laughing. I was very shocked that they didn't have any detail on there.
It said there's a decrease in normal activity.
Right, but where though?
Up marks, uptake seen in the striatal region. And then the other ones.
The striatal area is your putamen caudate.
And then it says striatal integral. Okay.
Say it again. Striatal what?
striatum, inguinal
I will have to look at that one.
degeneration, multiple system atrophy. Under history, abnormal DAT scan findings are consistent with possible Parkinsonism and like syndromes.
Yeah, so as far as I know, the DAT scan only looks at the substantial striatal area of your putamen and your caudate. Otherwise, if you have MSAC, they look at atrophy in the back of the head by the cerebellum. It's not necessarily a DAT scan.
Well, let me tell you, this is weird. She did the scan, right? First, I had to drink the iodine.
Yep.
Then I came back and had the injection.
Yep.
And then I had the scan about 3.5 hours later.
Yep.
And she did that for about 45 minutes. Then I got off and she was looking at the images. And she said, "Do you mind if I put you back in?" She said,
For another 45?
She said, "I want to do it for at least 20, 25 more minutes."
Okay.
Because your brain is squishy. Looking, it looks squished.
But you had a normal MRI done recently though, and
Yeah.
you said March though. I was going to say either the liquid is leaking out where it's not supposed to, which is highly unlikely, or you had so much atrophy of the brain, right? Degeneration, white matter, gray matter, that it looks weird. But you had a clear MRI back on March, so it makes no sense.
She said your brain looks squishy. And on the screen,
I could told you that, Daisy.
On the screen, David, she pulls up a normal brain.
Yeah.
She pulls up mine. The normal brain was blue and it had little red parentheses marks.
Yeah.
Mine was.
Yeah, the parentheses are like the putamen shape in the caudate.
You could see the shape of the brain, and then it literally looked like triangles and rectangles. And
I think they need to recalibrate the machine.
it was like I had an explosion in my brain.
That has to be a machine issue. Either they injected you incorrectly, which I can't see how, or that machine definitely needs a recalibration because it's done.
I was like, well, at least I had a brain. I was kind of worried there.
Yeah, because the DAT scan just isn't a slice of your brain. It slices like an MRI. It slices through all of your brain to see where the medicine is going. You put them in your caudate. So I can understand if that was like one slice of the brain laterally, and it showed squishy, but they take many layers of your. You can actually download your medical files. If you go back and look at my YouTube channel on my DAT scan, I go through the scans of the layers of the DAT scan. There's hundreds of them, and you see layer by layer what type of atrophy or less brain activity you have in that area.
Well, I requested my images.
Yeah, definitely do that because you can see for yourself. If you know what you're looking for, you can see for yourself.
Well, I immediately emailed Dr. Dahl.
Yes.
And I got him in my back pocket.
I can tell. He talked to him all the time.
I do. I love Dr. Dahl. I emailed him images and I said, "DAT scan abnormal." He said, "This does not surprise me. As I had said in a previous email, let me know how your next discussion goes with the doctor, and please ask her if she can share her thoughts with me."
Yeah, copy him on it. Absolutely.
Well, get this. This is how good Dr. Dahl is. I got a my chart message from my doctor, and I hadn't talked to her. She planned on talking to me at my next visit about the DAT scan.
Yeah.
But I had gotten a message from her, and it says, "The heck."
Should I put a drum roll in here? Or my hands.
It said,
I can't even do it.
I
Something
hope
like that.
this message finds you well. Your DAT scan has been read as abnormal by the neuroradiologist. I am happy to share it with you when I see you next. I will also discuss with Dr. Dahl. So he already emailed her, apparently.
It's very, usually that's face to face, but that's very kind that she got ahead. That's a very proactive doctor, getting ahead of things and messaging you. That's a very nice doctor.
Well, Dr. Dahl's a very nice doctor, too.
Right. I mean,
He messaged her already. How does she know about him being involved?
yeah. So somebody said something.
And I truly believe it was him. But I don't know. When I have one test, she said she was going to call Dr. Dahl on her way home that day.
after the sign one test.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Hey, it's great to have two excellent knowing doctors talking to each other. That's something that most people with MSA or even Parkinson's don't have. That communication.
I haven't emailed Dr. Dahl. He hasn't answered yet to see if he could come back on the show.
Uh-oh.
He's been doing research. He's been doing the TAC 341. So I'd
Yes,
love to hear what's been going on
that's
in his neck of the woods.
Takeda, right? TAC 341.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe we can pry some results out of him. Some other unreleased results.
So, with this being said, I told Dr. Dahl I have lost all my trust in someone. He
Yeah,
said so. He agrees with me.
yeah. So he came back to this months and months and months ago. I made a video on YouTube about skin biopsies and staining. So every pharmaceutical company, medical research, whatever, when they do these biopsies, whether you want to call it a sign one test or alpha synuclein protein AB test, whatever, they all do them completely differently. And in my video, I compared it to the COVID test. There's practically 100 COVID tests out there, different COVID tests, and the way it works is basically as follows: you go and you buy a telescope. You look into the sky at nighttime for stars and planets, right? Depending on your telescope, depending on the magnification of your telescope, is how far they can see if you have COVID. Some tests are like the James Webb or the Hubble telescope, where they magnify really far down. They keep amplifying. So they'll almost always find COVID in your sample. And a lot of the tests are like the cheap $20 telescope off of Amazon that barely magnifies anything. So when it comes to staining and biopsies, it depends on how the medical company, how much they magnify or they amplify the protein to see if you're positive or not. So when you had yours, I told you, I was like, it's gonna be negative. Like it's so rare to get a positive test because everybody with MSA, not only do we develop symptoms and issues differently at different times, but we also have different deposits of synuclein alpha protein in our body at different places and different times. So just having a one test for everybody saying, "Oh, let's test it." Like for me, testing my left side would be negative, even though my left side's worse. And here they tested you, and you've had it for much longer, and you still got a negative test. So, yeah.
And the night before I had a dream that I tested negative.
Yeah. Well, I could have told you that without the dream. Yeah, absolutely.
It was you in my dream. You told me that.
Hovering over your bed, negative. It's true though. I mean, I had one person message me and said, "You're wrong. The sign one test is a 100% positive test. It's 100% accurate." And I laughed at him. I didn't reply to him. I was like, "You're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about."
Oh, the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, everybody's completely different. And here's a funny thing for our listeners. Before you met me, you had barely any tests done for MSA or Parkinson's. And I was the one Dr. Dahl was so good so accurate at diagnosing you in a clinical setting in the office. He knew from your onset, from your characteristics, you had MSA from the
Part of
beginning.
my French. He knows his shit.
He knew it. And I never questioned Dr. Dahl. I just questioned why nobody ran tests for you. Right? I've had 2,000 tests done. You had like 2. You had a blood test and an MRI. And I was like, how can you diagnose MSA without a DAT scan, without EMGs, nerves? Like an EMG rules out like ALS or muscle related issues on your limbs. Like I was questioning you like for a year. I was like, how has nobody tested you? And I told you too, right? I said, well, you have a DAT scan. It will tell you with a fact if you have MSA or not.
David, I want to tell you something. That I am the one that requested this test.
Good. You have to.
I took your advice.
Yep. Yeah.
But
No, not the side 1 test, the DAT scan.
I don't know if you can see this or not. All these messages are of Dr. Dahl.
Wow, you guys are busy.
And
That's a lot of emails or texts. I would have blocked you by now.
sometimes it's him messaging me.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's not a doctor, but he still cares.
That's a great person to have in your corner.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like email and text my MGS in Indianapolis, but I send an email and I'll get after hour responses. I'll get responses. I always get responses the same day.
Do you know that this day I tested Dr. Dahl, this result, I don't know, you saying on your, I sent you the picture, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
It's something every time.
So Dr. Dahl, not only is he like an MDS doctor per se, but he can also read tests that's being done, radiological tests. And that's a doctor you want to have that can actually take the raw data and judge for themselves if you have X, Y, and Z. Like that's an excellent
looking
doctor.
at you.
That's an excellent doctor. Yeah. Because there are a lot of tests out there. And I think the sign 1 test was a waste. Who ordered that one? Was that Dr. Dahl or your new doctor?
A new doctor. Well, yeah. I asked for it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was gonna say sign 1 tests to me are so universally flawed that I just a waste of time.
I just wanted something, I know it's not 100%.
Yeah.
No, but I just wanted something to ease my mind to know this is what I really have. This is what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, well, that scan is 100% that you have a Parkinson's or Parkinson's plus disease. And
I think I texted you when I was leaving the hospital, and then I texted you right back and I got the result. It's 5 minutes.
I got mine in Indianapolis probably. We got stuck by an accident on the highway, so it's probably taking about an hour and a half to get mine. Yeah, they're quick.
And I asked the lady when I get mine. She said probably within a week.
Yeah, they have to say that. Yeah.
She said you'll get your chart. I said I'll get it my chart. She said yeah.
Yeah. As long as you're signed in, no notifications. Yeah.
I was taught that it was that fast though. But having that scan eased my mind. I'm back to, I wouldn't say, I don't know, some kind of relief, but I'm still disappointed too. Of course, that I have it, but
yeah, it's a what do you call that? It's a
catch-22.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a conundrum for sure, but it's better to know than not to know.
Even though you really don't know, and we as patients will never really know.
Yeah, well, I mean, 60 from what I read, something like 66, 67% of all MSA diagnoses are accurate, but there's still 33% that is something else. And usually that misdiagnosis is because it's too early, or it's individuals that are too old, and you have these other symptoms like dementia, hallucinations that come in, and then at that point they realize they have the wrong diagnosis, but they're so old and so gone at the time, it doesn't really matter to change the medical record. So you're not that old, neither am I. So the diagnosis is definitely, it fits, especially how quick it's moving, right?
And maybe being 47 when I first.
Yeah. Oh,
No, I was really 40.
bring out the fingers.
I was really 45 when I started having sex.
Yeah, I was 41. 44. How old am I now? 44? Beats me.
I'm 51, so I was 46.
Yeah, but yours has happened so quickly though that it's Parkinson's would take you a long time to get to this point where you're at right now. A long time.
Yeah, I was 46 when I started having sex. 46. I went from even Tanya talking about this last night, and she and I first met. I could still walk.
Yeah.
I was still working, I think. Yeah, I was still working. And then she asked me last night how I was doing, and I told her, hey, on Austin, I'm in a power chair. And she said, wow. I said, oh, and I have a superpubic cancer.
Yeah.
She has superpubic cancer. She's the first person I met that has a superpubic cancer.
Yeah, I met a few with Parkinson's, but they were very old. They were 70s and 80s.
So I just wonder, with our listeners, which test have you taken? Have you had any tests? And have they come in a negative, positive? Leave it in our comments.
Yeah, let us know. There's many tests. I know doctors that have diagnosed off of MRIs. I know doctors that diagnosed off of course, nuclear medicine, like DAT scans. I've seen, like you, diagnosed just off of clinical in the office. Even seen some done with autonomic function tests by themselves, like ECGs, sweat tests, and stuff like that. So, yeah, let us know how you were diagnosed. I told you that before too. Like if you have it done, test done too early, it's going to come back negative.
Yeah.
And that was my issue because I was so younger, 41, still active, still working, still doing everything, and my tests were all negative until the DAT scan, which proved. Then I had the second one proved, and the third one proved. I've had 3 DAT scans so far, and it wasn't until the DAT scans that they actually see. Yeah, here you go.
Now
Which,
I'm curious with your DAT scans, since you've had 3 of them.
yeah.
Have you seen a difference in the putamen?
In the quality, yeah, actually I have. So my first one was both the left and right putamen. I'm sorry. My first DAT scan, my one side of my putamen had lost activity, but the right one was good, and my caudates, both sides of my caudates were good. My second one was done down in Detroit with you, the same place you went, which showed left putamen and right putamen had no activity, but my caudates were still good. And my third test I had done back again, IU to repeat it, was both left and right putamen had no activity, and my right caudate had no activity. So I'm down 3 out of my 4 areas, so to speak. But we haven't really looked at the cerebellum, because it's more of an MSAP. So with the MSAP, they start to look at with DAT scans, they look at the putamen and the caudate, and with the cerebellum, they look more like MRIs to see like atrophy and things like that. So those tests are coming at the beginning of next year. We'll be due for some more testing. We'll find out more.
And I'm confused because if you remember, I had an MRI and I sent you those results, and it talked about atrophy. Well, yeah, I sent you the MRI showed atrophy.
Yeah, because your MRI did show atrophy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's usually they see so they can see atrophy in the putamen called in the cerebellum, but that doesn't mean your brain's not working. But that does show degradation of those areas. So yeah, when you see atrophy, you're definitely much more progressed, so to speak.
but
You had one in March, right?
yeah, and she said it came back normal.
Yeah.
But
See, doctors they read MRIs differently. They shouldn't, but they do.
well, I think it's just I kind of think that is good news that the MRI doesn't show anything because if the MRI shows
Yeah.
something, it's gonna be the later stages. So I'm looking at it like that. That's a good sign. But let me tell you something. Doctor, she came in and she said, me and my colleague, we have looked over your MRIs and you don't have, well, someone says you don't have it. So you do not have MSA. Her colleague is the one doctor that refused to see me after the first doctor diagnosed me with Parkinson's and then said later that I was delusional. He wouldn't see me because he thought I was delusional. So that's her colleague. So now
Wow.
it makes me want to take this results of the stat scan and shove it in his face. Say, how is this normal? And how am I delusional?
You need to send a letter to like a Merry Christmas letter, and say ha 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 ha.
I already called the first doctor that said I was delusional. I called his office, it's been a year ago or so, and talked to his nurse. I said, I want you to tell this doctor that I have MSA and that I'm not
Yeah.
delusional and that there's no cure and I'm looking at death. And you come back and you tell me how am I delusional?
Yeah, especially if they put that on your notes. Like if they said something like that or documented or if something like that's on your notes, you would definitely want to appeal the medical records and make sure that they take that stuff off.
Well, he did put it in my notes.
So yeah, your next step is to contact medical records and see how ask for the form to appeal medical records because I'm doing something similar with my medical records right now too, and I didn't know. So you contact the patient advocate, and they'll get you in contact. They'll send you the form and copy with medical records, and you'll be able to have it reviewed and taken off your record completely.
Really. So I need to call
Yeah.
this doctor's office, the main uh, medical records office
Yep.
for UT Health.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something you have to do. Um, because that stuff can stick with you for a long time, even after your diagnosis, especially for government assistance and stuff like that.
Well, that's all I'm talking to you, Sarah. I'll give good information. Listeners,
Yeah.
pay attention. They can
Yeah,
have a
maybe our
good
next
question.
episode in the future will be about medical records because that's something I didn't know. Like I had a run with a doctor recently that she must have thought that I was asking for pain medication and I wasn't, so she dismissed me from the practice. And I'm like, no, nobody ever asked you for
That's what you called me
anything.
about.
Yeah, that's when I
That's
called
what
you
you
about.
called me
Yeah,
about.
I was very
Oh my
shocked that
gosh.
she jumped to conclusions. My wife were like, "Did she wake up on the wrong side of the bed?" Because nobody asked for anything. We were there talking about restlessness, not pain medication.
And
So
it's good that you had a witness with you, too.
say it again.
Good that you had a witness with you.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's a spouse, though, yeah, there are several things that were wrong. Like even the patient advocate said that me going into a personal office of the doctor is not standard practice. It should have never been done. She should have came into my clinical room, exam room. Yeah. So she's apparently doing a lot of things that she's not supposed to. And I didn't know about my options before I talked to the patient advocate. So yeah, definitely reach out to your patient advocate at the hospital or clinic. We should definitely have a podcast about that because that's very important for doctors that say the wrong things, or not all doctors, but there are a couple that are not doing what they're supposed to, and it could cost you a lot in the long run if you don't have that stuff like expunged from your record.
That would be a good episode for Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. She would definitely know.
Well, next week is Thanksgiving, so
Yes,
then the next week we have Tanya coming up. So
we do. We'll have a very good episode next week. We're going to be live on video, right?
Yeah, and that's so. You're looking at 3 weeks. We'll have to tell Sarah and tell her she can't have any AFib. Go, come on with us.
Absolutely. Yeah, just in case anybody wonders why I sound really weird, power went out to the house, so we are editing the podcast on our mobile devices. So if we sound weird, it's all my fault. Blame Chicago for the bad weather. But definitely want to talk to everybody and make sure we're on the same page, and we hope for the best. And we definitely have we have a lot of comments and suggestions in our inbox, so a lot more interesting articles, podcasts in the future that we'll be talking about for sure.
Yes, and as always, we are supporters of Mission MSA, and you can go to their website, missionmsa.org, and find plenty of support information, research information. So don't forget to check that out.
Yeah,
and
make sure you check out our bonfire if you want one of our cool MSA Crusaders hoodies for you. It is wintertime, right? I mean, my power is out and it is getting colder in the house, so I'm gonna go upstairs and grab me one of my. Yeah, I'm gonna grab an MSA Crusaders sweatshirt and put it on.
And
So,
as I mentioned to David, I'm starting a YouTube journal. It's going to be called MSA Sucks. So be sure to check that out.
yeah,
And
who's the other gentleman? That has that MSA? Who is it? Right?
right.
Yeah. So you and her have very good titles for sure.
And as always, remember we're all MSA Crusaders.
Yes, we are. Even if the sign one test says negative, yes, we are.
That's right. You always got the duck again.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Daisy.
Bye, David.